Good afternoon. This is FIDE Senior Trainer and International Master Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. In this session, I will be covering about the topic piece play in middle game. Once the opening is over, all the pieces are developed, the players try to improve their piece position and they look for opportunity to make a combination or get a strategic winning position. And sometimes they give even material, a pawn or a piece, even a rook or a queen for getting initiative. However, the conditions has to be met. Suppose, for example, in the opening you give a gambit like Mora gambit. Let's say Mora gambit. E4, C5, D4. Now you take. Now, sorry. This takes and C3. C3, you take. Now, if you consider, now white has got lot of piece mobility. Both the bishops are open and he has a better control of center. But a center pawn with black. So, I believe that the piece play is insufficient for the pawn. Black can easily defend this. In the last century, it was considered Mora gambit has good compensation, but with the help of data, computer, engine, players have found lot of good ideas. For example, let us say to start with, we play NC6, knight f3, and now we play e6. Now bishop c4. Now black's main problem is development. Suppose black can develop and castle and white is unable to create a serious threat, then he will be losing slowly because he is a pawn down. Earlier they used to play a6 here. It is not necessary. Now the modern masters have found the value of one move. Hello Subankar, hello Arun Master and Gauravari Mahapatra. So here knight e7. The simple plan, knight g6, b7 and castle. Knight b5 doesn't work. And trying to pin, he will unpin it. Now this is not sufficient. I don't see a big compensation. Black will just castle. So now white has to castle, white has to play queen e2, rook d1. By that time black will complete development and start for counteraction. So Mora gambit nowadays, it is not so much popular like it used to be. The pawn sacrifice is insufficient. Or I can say another gambit. Now e4 c5, knight f3, knight c6, and somebody found the d4 gambit. It is not a wing gambit. Wing gambit is little different. Now this position, suppose you take pawn takes pawn and he has a center. But this is all temporary. White's grip on center is not permanent. Black can find counter attack. I will show you some games on this gambit. Or alternately, when you play, he can play knight into pawn. Then white has got c3 and knight goes back d4. Even this is also okay for black. So when we offer material in early stage of the game, then a player can design his pieces and pawns in a way and can return the material if necessary and get an advantage. So I will discuss positions. Some variations you offer piece for activity and some variation offer pawn for activity, and sometimes you get piece play just by following some well-trodden path. Let's go now start with first before we start the topic piece play. What is that? E4, E6, D4, D5, NC3, NF6, BG5, D4, NE4, BE7, BS. Okay, what Ramakrishna is asking is this. I will say E4, E6, D4, D5, D4, D5, NC3, now knight F6, BG5, now DE4. This position white is better. Knight E4, B7, B7. Now bf6, gf6. This variation is good for white. Just simply knight f3 is just good enough. Knight f3. Actually this is one of the idea of Botvinnik. Botvinnik some 100 years back, maybe about 80 years back, he was playing this, and the idea is center. Knight f3, lot of black square weaknesses on the king side. So black is insufficiently developed, not a good position. White has an advantage, clear advantage. Okay, so okay. No, this is no more, it is considered to be bad for black nowadays. Alright, now I will go to the topic. Before we go, I want to do two combinations and two end games. Till players arrive, let us do two combinations and two end games. Then we go to the piece play topic. The position is white to play. No, it is the classical, I know the Burn variation, and it is considered to be good for white. Ramakrishna, after the move bf6, gf6, I think white has advantage after knight f3, queen d2. I think white has a clear advantage. I have already given this in one of my lecture. Okay, we will come back to that later. Just because somebody Morozovich won or somebody won, Botvinnik won, it is not good line nowadays. Alright, let us go. Let us go. Hey, yeah. Okay, white to play and win here. I have chosen some variation with piece play. We should do it in 10 minutes time, two combination and two end games. Then I go to the main topic. I will go to the Ramakrishna, I will go to the line what you suggest, but not today, because I will not divert the topic. Let's go on with piece play topic. I will discuss this line later. So this is how should white win now. Piece play. Brusang Solange Queen e6, not the best answer. Not the best answer. Queen a6 is not correct answer, because black has counterplay. Queen into f4, black has counterplay. Queen a6 is not correct. Rook into d7 is also not the best answer. Because the back rank is not clear. Now rook d7, he can take, bishop takes queen, you take, then I doubt there is a forceful win. Hiren Sardna will say queen a4. There comes Goenka. Goenka says queen f7. winning. Because rook into queen is a check. He will exchange down. If rook takes queen, knight into rook is a check and you are exchange up, winning the queen back. So piece play. The queen enters with decisive threats. Hopeless. Now queen f4 does not work. Queen f4, you have got to win the queen. Perfect. Queen f7 is correct. It is the end of the game. Lost. Okay, next. One more combination based on piece play. One more. White to play and win. It is based on piece play. Since our topic is piece play, the tactics is based on piece play. Good afternoon, Goenka. It is black to play. I'm sorry, it is black to play and win. How should black win? I did it wrongly, white. Black to play and win. There comes Goenka's correct answer. The knight is in pin. So knight e6 and then knight to d4. Correct answer. Knight e6. This is not winning by force but getting a strong position. Now there is no answer to knight e5. So black will give material, white will give material, knight check and take. Now this is correct answer. The threat is knight to e5 check. Correct answer. Now this should win. Winning queen. Of course, he could have played better here with rook s3 instead of rook s3. Giving, rook s3 was better. But even then, black has got a clear better position. And winning the game easily. This is winning. So we need to see the piece activity and the weak points of opponent. Now let us do two end games. Let us do two end games quickly. This position is black to play and win. Two end games. This is number one. The next one more. The time is running out. You have got 50 seconds. A simple technical win. Correct answer. Creating the H passer. F passer. See, this pass pawn only can win. So, the correct answer by, who said? Goenka. Well done. Well done. And now, He has to take pawn into, and the pass pawn is enough. This is enough. Because next pawn push wins. King cannot come. Correct answer. So, creating a pawn. Now one more endgame. It is white has a pawn on 7th rank, black has 2 pawns, white has 1 pawn. So how should black play? How should black play now? How should black play? Yeah, I have charged the battery. It is sufficient for 2 hours, I guess. It is sufficient for 2 hours. There comes Hiren Sardana, correct answer. Hiren Sardana, the only correct move is to play f3. In the actual game, black made a mistake by playing g4 and it was a draw. g4 and it drew. The correct move is f3. The correct move. Because after f3, rook takes, then rook takes pawn, and then pawn push wins. Winning. Because one check, no more check, good check. In the actual game, it happened he played mechanical g4 and became a draw. Rook. Now he cannot do anything. He cannot. And now queen, and it's a draw. King. Now if king f3, king f3, king e6 wins. I mean draw. Rook check. Now the point is, now if you take the pawn, it is losing for white. But give a check and then take the pawn. Give a check and then take the pawn. So technically important move. Giving a check is important, not this rook into pawn bad move. Now suddenly it is black is winning, so giving a check and then take, it's a draw. Okay, so let's start our discussion of the topic today's piece play. So first I will show you the end game, why it is bad. See, for example, now simply I say that this is bad. For example, if you direct wing gambit is worse. Direct wing gambit is worse. I have already discussed, and now a3, you will just play e6. Then you develop a French defense, one extra pawn. Now d4, d5. Simply one extra pawn for black in French defense. So wing gambit is worse. If you play here, this is also not helping. I can play pawn into. I think knight into pawn is a safer way to play. Now this, you will play d5, d4. I doubt that this compensation is enough, because now you have to consider bishop check is coming. Okay. And if you push the pawn to d5, you have to consider queen to f6 also is coming. A tempo insufficient. Black is ready to set some material for initiative. Just castle. The position is terrible. Now white king position is bad and one move he will get, but then there is no good move. There is a threat of queen e4, knight e4, queen b2, various threats he is giving. So just check. Already 2 pawns in pocket and big initiative. So this is lost. So this is bad. So if you play other way also, so I say, there's some people say this gambit is okay, but it is not advisable. You can even take pawn into. For example, instead of taking, the piece play is not sufficient for white. This is also transposing to what you call Alpine system, but with one extra pawn. This is just one extra pawn. Sicilian c3 variation. So that no knight c3 comes. Of course, you could play but gain a move. Knight t7 is okay, but gain a move. I think he will digest the pawn now, just castle. So we have to be very careful when you give material. And that too in the early opening stage, like King's Gambit is okay. It is okay for a draw. I don't think any more advantage for white. Or Evans Gambit, it is okay. Some piece play is there, but black gets easy equality. Let us consider one game. Let us consider I remember our international master Parameswaran, who is 2 times national champion. He played black with Grandmaster Chernin. And here white offered a gambit. Now there is a threat on d6. So I will show you first the game and then I will show you the refutation. And now white has good compensation, because now nd6 check cannot be stopped easily. A good move, provoking e5 and further weakness. And now check. And now white has got lot of piece play. White has got lot of piece activity. Black is simply unable to coordinate. Even if he moves king to g8 and king h7, the f7 pawn is hanging. So first he makes a room. Plus minus. Now you cannot play b6 and moving now queen f3 can come. This is already black is in serious trouble. And the finish was also very pretty. So I will go further. You have to move the queen. Forced. Again forced. You have no time to move the rook. Forced. And now rook. Attacking the pawn on 7th. And he gets a brilliant idea. Idea like Botvinnik Portes. I will show that game. That rook 1 into c6. Rook 1 into c6. It's all over. The mating attack is coming. Rook check. Queen check and bishop check will lead to mate. After this king into, it is leading to mate only. Check. Check. Now if you go queen f7 check, now bishop check will lead to mate. However, this is not the last word on the variation. There are grandmasters that keep working, and I will show 2 games where this was refuted. For example, let me show the game of Grandmaster Balogan on this variation. The gambit is insufficient. Now in the game, here d5. Check. Even pawn into pawn is okay. Some grandmaster played simply pawn into pawn. returning material. Now queen into knight. After pawn into knight e7, the complete development. Now earlier some queen a6 move was coming, then white has got b4 with complication. Now the modern move. Nothing. Pawn into pawn is simply losing. Pawn into b7, black is getting more development. So white plays this, but then the check. If you repeat knight e back, there is you have nothing. So takes. Now the point is, now pawn into pawn, bishop into bishop, simply rook b8. Now the piece play of white is not there, and black is going to castle and with a better game. For example, let us say rook c1, and black's correct move is queen a2. Now the bishop is under attack. If you play, then queen d5 minus plus. Or he can go back, bishop to g2, but then b2 is falling. The b2 pawn is falling. So he has to play a move like c3, b3, but then that's enough. It should be enough to take advantage. Minus plus. Then it was played in 99. I will show Viswanathan Anand improved in the game. Anand Gelfand. He simply played this simple move. e5. The check is only temporary. The extra pawn will tell. The king is quite safe. The point is, if you want to have initiative and attack, you should have few conditions like your king castled, your pieces must be coordinating. There should be 3-4 pieces in action. Here only the knight, and which is also unsecured. The center is not strong. So it will fail. The initiative is not good enough. End of the initiative. Now black is just sound one extra pawn. And Anand went on to capitalize and beat a strong GM like Gelfand. The secret is the extra pawn you can return. Now good move. Forced to take. Otherwise e4 will come. Forced. Now queen exchange is very bad. Forced. And you can see yourself, judge the position is terrible. Next move king f7. The discover check does not work. Queen into queen. Black has center and better piece mobility. The unsafe king of black is hardly matter. Opponent cannot do anything about it. So this is where Anand exploited. I will show one more game of Chandler. Even that game also I liked. It appears good. Now queen to b4 is not working, so insufficient. Now black will consolidate. The extra pawn he will consolidate. White's piece play is not sufficient. Taking control of the key square, bishop should not enter the game. After I don't see any advantage of white. The 3-2 majority is coming easily, and black is going to consolidate. So when we give material, we must make sure that the initiative sustains for a longer period. That is number one. And number two, there is some definite calculated sacrifice. So one cannot just follow a game where somebody gave a gambit. For example, in some variation of King's Indian defense, I will tell you some variation of where somebody gave a queen. It looks attractive, but not so good. For example, let us say, have I kept it? Yeah, I think I have kept it. Let us say, King's Indian defense, Samish. I would consider the main line is very good, and next to main line, Samish is the dangerous thing. I mean, it is quite sharp, and black must be very careful to meet the Samish line. Knight h5. The obvious move is a check. Now the point is, how is he going to reply? If you play bishop f2, queen f4, b3, queen h4, draw. He is not happy to draw that game. So, white must play g3 to go for a win. Now, black surprises white with knight into pawn. Bishop f2, you have to play, there is no choice. Bishop f2, knight into bishop. So here if you see the position, black has piece play. Even though black has given queen, he has got material. He has got two minor pieces, two bishops. Black has two bishops and also two pawns. So there is good compensation. However, it is not actually sufficient. The reason is the piece play black is temporary and white will consolidate. The vulnerability point is black king. This is the point. For example, this game became a draw. Discovery, knight b4, knight b5, knight a4 gets nothing. So only move. Now rook takes pawn. It is knight a6, and if you take the pawn here, the rook will not come out. This could be a problem. Okay, there is no way rook is coming out. He will play some rook fc8, and then he will attack the rook again. So it is not very good. So rook has to return. Rook has to return. But now you have only two bishop and one pawn. The players agreed to a draw after some time, but it is not the correct assessment of the position. For example, I will tell you the problem of black here. The attractive line is not enough. So here the game became a draw. After this some time, agreed to a draw. Let me show you a modern game on this variation. A modern game. Kasimudullah Dennis and Zhu Wenju in the year 2012. Okay. The present world champion, I think Zhu Wenju is a women world champion present. Transposed to a King's Indian Samish. Let me flip the board. King e2. Now the point is, he has defended it well. Now the whole idea that black looks okay, but white has got two knights, queen, rook, everything, and the advance of the pawn. So I would say that black king is the target now. So the whole variation, now people started casting doubt. It's not enough. For example, the game continued knight. The idea, you cannot concede your white square bishop. Bishop into s3 is just not a correct position. Then it is positionally only bad. So, one second. Not king to f2. The reason is he wants to open the f4 break. So, king is more safer at d2. Now, already the pressure has come. The threat of f4, f5, the threat of knight f5, even direct knight f5 is coming. Necessary. You cannot take pawn takes pawn. The knight will enter into e6. So white's piece play is much stronger than the black. The black pieces are clumsy on queen side. I think this is now it is very difficult for black. So after this game, I doubt the people will try this variation. So always there is an improvement. So insufficient compensation. Now you will open up the game. Idea h4. Idea pawn h4. Insufficient. Take. I think this should be enough. There are G file. There is also, the knight is also joining. So gradually black is going down. Let's show the finish. Finish. Because once it is gone, now he is considered. He cannot defend the h6, pawn f6. He is returning material. I doubt any defense is there. Knight f6 loses to queen g5 check. The only move. Now you see vulnerable points. Now only move. Again the same threat is coming. Means queen check and pawn f6. You can't go f7, and I think it is finishing the game. He is entering now. The next move, queen f5 is coming, queen to e6 coming, h6, h7 point. So there are various threats he can create. So this point, the whole variation stopped because it looks attractive. Like that, there are some other variation I can show, but let me not show. I will go to some positions directly. For example, this, let us say, this variation queen e2 has become popular in last 5-6 years because many players have a headache against French defense. So queen e2 somewhat like King's Indian attack. So this is giving lot of flexibility to the line. I think the best answer is, in my opinion, simple b7 and d5. The safest way, black complete development. The whole idea of queen e2 is to stop d5. Black d5 pawn into queen d5 and c3 is plus minus. So simple b7, you can't stop d5. But there is other ways also. e5, this is not good. The point. Now if you take pawn takes pawn, it is not a king's gambit, it is much stronger than that. d4 will come if you take. Getting ready to develop the bishop. White has space on king side. White stands better. And there is every probability white will channelize 3-4 pieces against black king. Already 3 are there, and knight and bishop will join. So white has good space and probability of piece play against the black's king side. Well, you cannot blame now. Now the position, that pressure is anyway coming. You cannot develop pawn into pawn bg5. It is very annoying for black. Okay, he took knight into bishop and trying to get some counter play. Now 5 of white pieces are ready. Next move d4, and it is terrific position. So he has to play this to exchange some pieces and threatening pawn. Otherwise, once d4 comes, the position is terrible. So the last chance to liquidate some pieces. The point of black is he is getting d3 pawn. But he simply underestimates the piece play by white. The calculation is alright. The evaluation is wrong. Black is a very strong GM from Vietnam. Now he takes, bishop takes. So the calculation is alright. The material factor is equal, but white has terrific piece play, especially the black king position is weak. In such case, the piece play becomes double powerful, more effective. So how does it do? First you have to defend the knight. Now there is a threat, knight to f5. So black makes queen, attacking the b2 point. You see, grandmasters, modern grandmasters have mastered the art of attack and defense together. Now the b2 pawn is attacked. So white plays perfect move c4. Not only defending, also fortifying the center. The d5 point. Attack and defense. Idea, he wants to enter the rook. So he does enter. So think for a moment. Hello, Mr. Venkatesan and Mukund Agarwal. Welcome. Now piece play is the key here. Piece play is the key. What do you do now? Our point is piece play. White has all pieces well set. His rooks are lined up. The queen is in centralized queen watching lot of dark squares. Finishing the game. Goenka says knight d5. Knight d5 is not dangerous. Knight d5 is not dangerous. Knight d5, he will take bishop into d5. No, queen into e6 is gambling. Queen into e6 is gamble. You will get two checks and king at h6. Nothing will happen. Even queen into e6, simply queen into rook wins. Simply queen into f1 also win. Return the material. Queen into e6, black can play queen into f1. So, the win is achieved by, the whole point is, I had seen a game between Hari Krishna and Barua. So a similar combination had appeared. The piece play, the unexpected, the blow, knight g4. Now nd5 is bad. nd5, simple answer, bishop into d5. Then white has nothing much. But this move, killer. There are two threats, knight h6 threat, knight f6 threat. Mate. Knight h6 is mate in one. So there is no choice, you have to take that. Bishop into knight, only move. But then, Anthony, rook into f7. Rook into f7. Party finish. Rook into. You have to take. Now queen into f1 doesn't work. Queen f1 doesn't work. You have to take. If you play rook into rook, queen f8 check, and then queen check, it will lead to mate. It will lead to mate. After check, here, some check, here, some check, and it will lead to mate. Winning game. Okay. Now if you come here, some queen check. So this is leading to mate. So he has to play queen into f1 to survive the mate. Queen into. But then rook come back. It is a technical win. So, see, Hari Krishna Barua, I think many people must have seen that. Okay, I will show you another time because searching the game will take time. So, I will go to the next game, Peace Play. And notice that he has not made an unsound move. The continuous improvement, Grandmaster Zaginzev, who was a former Russian champion. So, he started improving the pieces gradually. Notice that after the exchanges, which is just improved, and now this is a fantastic move. The restriction of the bishop and controlling the b2 point, not making rook passive, and then rook double. Nothing can be done. Terrific. So, this is excellent piece play example. Now I will go to another game. Zaginzev versus Almasi. Zoltan. This position opening is not sharp and not difficult, but white has light little better game. It was more correct in the position here. After he should try to develop the queen side fast. Now after here he should play now not this move. Maybe a6 is a good move or b5 is a good move. It's okay. Now white has the advantage. Pawn n2 is bad. If you play pawn takes pawn, bg5 is annoying. So a bad move. Bishop takes knight. Now many people will not like the position because white's king side is weak. But black is not in a position. Number one, black has no guard near his castle position. That is number one weakness. Well, he doesn't want to stay in the line of the bishop. Next, knight c2 is coming. Castle. Otherwise, next knight into c6 and tactical target. So take. Okay. So he brings rook. Rook into. How should white play now? Black is not without idea. Now white's king side is weak. These squares are weak. So what white wants, if this pawn can come, he will have access to this square. The idea of the move, if you play pawn to e3, queen will enter to e2. Find out. Hello, Jian Sa. How should white play now? Our topic is piece play. What should white do now? Correct answer. G4. There is no time. This is a bad move. E3 is bad. Queen E2 with black has got excellent opportunity. So G4, unexpected. Forced. Again forced, winning. The mobility of the rook. Now simply we will lose a piece. Black has no compensation and the mating attack or terrific piece play continues. One more game of Zaginzev. Maybe this is This may be a good move. C4. It deserves attention. A double pawn will be resolved. So, all this is normal because he doesn't want to surrender the bishop. Bishop into f3 is just positionally bad. Black position is clumsy. I mean, the pawn structure is very inferior and his pieces are not having good scope. If he tries to dislodge with pawn e6, then a lot of weaknesses will come on f6 and d6. So, you want to weaken, then e6. If you don't want, then how long black will tolerate the knight on d5? How long black will tolerate the knight on d5? Not exchanging. Exchanging will lose knight into knight and f into. Now, one of the idea f4, e5, rook d3 and double. Now double the rooks. White is better. Basically, piece play, it doesn't come automatically. You have to continuously keep improving the scope of the pieces, and gradually opponent will be pushed back and will be forced to do some concession, and then the piece play comes. For example, now white is preparing, gradually bring the pawn to h4, h5, one plan. Now pawn to f4 is also another plan. So he has to concede some weakness. Idea, I want to play h5, and when he plays g5, its position becomes worse for black. So he cannot tolerate this anymore. White is on a song. Rook g3 is coming, h5 is coming. So he moves. Now the black's conception that he can hang on to the weaknesses. This is the point. The logic of black, bishop exchange will pawn d6 into e5 and there is not much danger. Not much danger. But white will take his own time to exchange. Now the threat is knight into. Threat knight h6. Getting maximum out of the position. Before I give the knight, I go maximum. So move the king now. No other way to defend. And now this should win. The point is, now d pawn is falling. You have to capture d into. But then the overloaded rook, knight into. And winning. Huge advantage. Now rook d8 is coming, so you have to play rook into, rook into. Now queen d2, queen d3, anything is lost. So you can see the activity of pieces, it comes, you have to continuously keep improving your piece position strategically. And then opponent is forced to make some concession in the pawn structure, in the piece position, in the king position, and then it becomes decisive. For example, Catalan. White is better. Black cannot hang on to the pawn with b5 and all. Okay. b5 is bad. Simply a4 will come. Knight e5 will come. So it is the challenge. White having center and development. Black is having an extra pawn. It's a debate. Who is better? The Russian knight has arrived and center. There is nothing better. These other moves are worse. Rook h7 is also worse. So he stops. Threat. Now white has got three type of compensation. Number one advantage that he has a good center. White center is undisputed better. Number two, white is better king position and better developed. Number three, there is an apparent weakness. The black's piece position. The bishop at a8 is unprotected. The a file, the access to a7 square. So this is a vulnerable point. This is a vulnerable point. This is unprotected. And the king in center. The word center is very strong. So all these things counts. Despite all this, white must play actively. Otherwise the lecture बंद हो जाएगा. If one will not play actively, then what is all the advantage of no use? You have to play actively. So Grandmaster Khalifman demonstrates this. E4. Now you need not worry about the pawn B4 move, because the check will be coming. So C6. Active move. The sacrifice is temporary because he is going to get the piece back. It is a temporary sack, but it is very nicely handled. E5. Black has H6, but it is not working. Now if you play G5, pawn into F6, and pawn into, now G5 is losing. Pawn into, then queen check is winning. Queen check is winning. So he cannot take it. He cannot take G5. So here he plays H6 and now he plays knight, returning the material. Okay, it is now not about the material, but white has got all the piece play. So this is a fantastic example of demonstrating, exploiting the piece play against the weakened position of opponent. Her king position is bad, under development. The bishop on B7 hanging. So white has got access to the diagonal, the file, the rank. Number one, the king is very bad. So you can see this file, this rank, this rank, this rank. 1. The queen's access. And now the queen's access, the knight entry. So this bishop. So all these factors now contributes to white's win. So let us see how Grandmaster Khalifman brings piece play. Shall I ask at the end of the class, please? Yeah, you can ask. But I don't think we'll have time today because so many games I have to show. So many games. Okay, let us see. The idea is to enter the knight, and idea that on the rank, queen into is bad, obviously bad. Knight comes with the tempo. Only move. This is the point. Now Rook A7 is coming. The idea after Rook A7, various threats will enter. Other moves are bad. Any other move. You are trying to play Queen B6, then Queen G4 check is annoying. Queen B6 is bad. Queen B8 is bad. So with the idea, Rook A7 is not dangerous, king will slip to H8. But notice the marvelous piece play. He is looking a salter, the king going to H8 square. This is the salter he is looking. Okay, this is what he is looking. But where is the salter? You go the knight F4, again threatening to G3, G6 and E6. So he stops the knight entry. But what about the knight entry at D4? So again an instructive move. The knight enters via D4. I think now position is out of control. Now he plays bishop C8, pinning the bishop. The threat is renewed. Now a fantastic demonstration of piece play. He shocked Novikov with knight into E6. What a great move. Now the point is, now of course, see, if you give rook check, there is no danger. But the whole point is back rank is cleared. After you take the bishop, rook into, I don't think he will be able to defend the assault of two heavy pieces. The open king and two heavy pieces. Queen into D5, rook into C8 will sound the death knell. because there is no check available and heavy attack is coming by a G, Queen G4, Queen E8. So must return. Another beautiful move. See, this series of beautiful moves. He has given last 5-6 moves in a row. Correct plan. Again the beautiful move. Again threat pin. Knight into beautiful move. Again beautiful move. And another beautiful move. The queen enters with a mating attack. You have to accept. You cannot decline the rook. Check. 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 Gone. Now it is piece play and also technically winning. 3 pass pawns rolling with an exposed king. Still the finish is beautiful. Check. Check. And now like Tal Kuprichik. H4, H5, H6. H4. Idea H5, H6. Stopping, but this. Completely, restricting the white queen. The threat remains H5, H6. Check, and resigns. Because after the king F6, there is a mate in 1, and also there are other threats. He cannot handle. Now this threat is a mate in 1. And Queen G7, mate in Queen E6 mate. And Rook G7, he also loses to Queen to F8 and Queen. Rook G7, Queen F8 and win the Queen. So what a terrific piece play. A great demonstration of piece power. But it is not everybody's cup of tea to give so many accurate moves, so many strong initiative. Let's see. I would like to take you to another game. Bagheera and Grandmaster Go fight. The modern approach with the idea A6, Rook B8 and B5. One of the idea, he wants to play A6, RB8 and B5. The other alternative is safer, Knight D7 and C5. Okay, that is a safer alternative, but this is more aggressive. Well done. So both are playing according to their plan. Now the position looks alarming for black because white is opening the H line and white pieces are looking more menacing. But this is an excellent example by Grandmaster Gufeld about the piece play. Now pawn into pawn, he will play f pawn into and rook f7 will defend everything. If you play hg, fg, queen h6, rook f7, there is no attack. So he goes first, destroy the one of the main defender of black, the f6 knight. Defended. Now rook into knight will not work. Very timely blow. The idea is sacrificing to slow down. Black sacrifices the piece to slow down white's attack. Now for example, pawn into knight, g5 will come. Suppose you take black, now white king cannot castle. Now pawn into knight, g5 will come. So white has to play rg1, then rook into pawn. By that time black will develop piece play. No question of opening the file. He cannot give the rook. Now pawn into pawn is too slow. Agreed, he will win material, but the attack is coming too slow. You have to play pawn into pawn, pawn g5, pawn g6. 2-3 moves in chess is like 2-3 years. Grab. Finish. There is no more attack. Now, with limited material, black puts a mating net. The threat is knight b4 and then back rank mate. The simple threat, after knight b4, he will generate mate. All this is control. All this is control. And mate threat will come. Rook. The same idea. Knight b4 and mate threat. Mate threat defended. Now it appears white is better because it seems that black cannot improve the position further. But the piece play is our topic. So what black wants to join the queen in the battle. And this is the one. So throw the piece and join the queen. Throw it. Throw the piece. You cannot decline that. Cannot decline. Now not queen, because you know queen is watching the square. The queen is watching the square. So you don't have time for queen b8, but making a direct queen b8 is a direct threat. Nasty threat. Queen b8 check is nasty. So you have to stop it. Idea bb3 and stop. Only move. Only move. Now another fantastic from Grandmaster Guffert. Check. Only move. You don't have time for kc1. kc1 will lead to rb1 check and mate. It will lead to mate. So only move king into. But then knight d5 check. Now king c4 is a mate. Mate in 1. So king comes. Again check. And check again. Now this will lead to mate. Queen check. King here. Queen check. Whether you come here or whether you come, it's a mate. Come here, it is a mate, and come here also checkmate. So this shows the power of coordination of queen and knight and what piece play he demonstrated. I like the move that bishop e6, and I like the idea slow down white's attack. Okay. Yet another game from Guffert, GF Guffert, who was a very good coach also, in my opinion. Same active line he plays. So it appears that now white has initiative. Of course, queen is attacked, you have to move. The queen is doing a wonderful job here. We will guard the second rank. You can see the defense and attack will go hand in hand. Take, now f6. Now rook. Black has the better game because now he can open the b file and white's attack has slowed down. Okay, you can play pawn into pawn, but that is not giving any initiative. Rook g1 nothing. He can bishop h5 will put an entire blockade. So he plays rook. Now pawn into. It appears that white has initiative, but this rejoined a rook into. Now pawn into will lose to queen a3 check. The end of the attack. Reverse attack will come. Queen a3, rb8 will win. And queen into will lose, knight check. kb1 also loses. So only move. And winning. This should win the end game. So what I meant to say, white's piece play was insufficient and it was not based on concrete calculation. It was based on general moves. Open the file and attack. So the method of working does not help in such sharp positions. Concrete calculation is necessary. Okay, so I will go to the another game, giving you examples of piece play. Of course, you know some famous games, still I will show because everybody has not seen those games. White is Kasparov, black is Anderson. The only theoretical correct move is d5 here. So the move is not the best. It is a passive move. The best is to play d5. So not good move. bb7 was more to the point, but after that theory starts. So everybody was afraid of Kasparov's preparation at that time. So he wanted to avoid and played a move which is not good, and it gives very good piece play possibility. White has center and more piece opportunity. See the timing. Now if I told you piece play does not come from out of blue. It doesn't come just by magic. You have to keep improving the position, strategically put pressure on the opponent's position, so he will succumb to the pressure and he will make some concession, and then you get the opportunity for piece play. So h4. Now the threat of h5 is annoying. If black plays h5, then there is a serious weakness on g5. Now d5. What a timely move. If you play h5, it's okay. h5 is not bad, but does not achieve. So this is a fantastic move. Doing 2-3 things. Number one, the black bishop on b2 has become a giant bishop now. Number one. Number two, a tactical target. Number three, the king. The more and the more the position opens up, the black king will be more and more vulnerable. You have to play c6. I think this needs no explanation. c6. Now you need to open the position more and more. The idea is to open the game with e4. Now the point is, you see, he made a concession. So he made a concession. Now the g7 point is unprotected. So we forget e4 break. Come on the. Now you cannot move the bishop f7. That is bad. So forced to play king. Forced to move the bishop. Now a tactical target, and now open up further e5, e4 punch. I need the knight. You need the knight. Knight into pawn is not dangerous. Bishop into comes with a threat. Idea bishop into bishop and queen h7 check. Queen g6 check. So forced. Now there is no guard to g6 square. Into d7. Forced. You can't play d5. That is worse. Because after d5, some queen g6 check and a piece sack on f6. Crushing. Anyway, he gave a sack. Now bishop f6 loses to queen check, and then bishop into bishop. You can't take with the queen, and this is finished. Terrific piece play. Bad king situation. So you have to take pawn into. Then queen check. And now simple. A tactical target. Undefendable. Bishop into pawn, queen takes, queen g6, h6. Finishing. Non-stop 3-4 moves will come. Bishop takes queen check, king moves. Again queen g6 check, then pawn h6, finish. So the whole point is the unsound move bishop g6 were very, very well punished over the board. Great game by Garibhai Kasparov. Excellent play. A normal move, one of the main lines in the Sicilian Kahn-Paulsen line. Now, while black has various moves, he can play a6, he can play knight f6, he can play some d6, f, all these moves, but bad move. This is passive move. I think these moves are more impulsive rather than preparation. General consideration. The point of black is he will play knight e7 and knight c6. But one cannot have so much luxury to giving 2-3 moves. Now knight e7, knight f6 is bad, knight e7 and knight c6. This is too much. Now white will have a very easy piece play. Of course, this is not compulsory, but to avoid some sudden checks and tactics, a2 point is unprotected. So makes a safe move, makes sense. Now f4. If pawn into is not good, then in that case this becomes a target. So white will simply play king. That means any moment I have rook b1. Black has nothing in such a situation. So he plays here queen into. Now there is a problem. Already black is feeling the heat. He cannot develop the bishop, and next move white will prepare some h4, h5, g4, bring the rook to h3. White has all the ideas and black has to just wait and watch. He cannot even do long castle. The castling queen side is too bad, so he makes a bad move. The idea is to play g5. This position, already you can see it is, you don't have to become a very strong player to get ideas here. Any player can find out plan very quickly. Okay, pawn into is worse. It will lead to mating attack. Rook check, queen g2 mate. Rook g1, queen g2 will lead to mate only. This is a terrible move. Inviting the knight into his territory, nd5. And the knight cannot be accepted. Now, if cannot be accepted, but what to do about the threat? The threat is bishop into f6 and knight e7. And if he goes to king to h8, then knight e7 is winning. Piece play. In return for one piece down, white has g file, 2 pawns and 3 heavy pieces. Bishop f6 does not work now. Bishop f6, e7 will come. If bishop f6, e7 will cross. The only move. Again the only move. Queen d5 and pick up the rook at a8. So bf6 does not work. So you have to play only rook f6. And g6 also does not work. So only move. Okay, now if you see, it is very important to understand, now attack is important. Many players should not think I should take the exchange. Then you will slow down your attack. You should play in the spirit of attack. Now the queen has access. After rook into g7, queen check is coming, rook g1 is coming. Check. Mate threat. Mate, queen g8 mate. And now winning. It is a terrific piece play. Enough. So you can see black has made lot of mistake. It is not white. White got very easy way, but it also needed some calculation. Made lot of good moves. So the piece play comes when opponent gives a concession positionally, strategically. Then a weak strategic position becomes weak in tactics later on, and then sudden death comes. So we should just play strategically, try to keep improving our position and look at the vulnerable points, and when the weakness is rampant and opponent makes a big concession, just pounce on him. Garibhai Kasparov is black here. This, in my opinion, this is the best setup against the King's Indian attack. Knight e7. Now e5 is not yet a threat. He will prepare c3, e5, d4. Here, this same exact position had occurred. White was Grandmaster Jovic and black was former world champion Tigran Petrosyan. He played the move bishop a6. And eventually, he lost the game. What is the drawback in bishop a6? The drawback here, imagine this position if the pawn is on a5. Imagine here. Now your rook is active by a7. Your rook is active, your a5 pawn is playing a role, and your bishop is, he cannot attack the bishop. So you achieve three things: mobility for the rook on the second rank, very important thing, and the bishop cannot be attacked easily, and the coordination between pieces and pawns. So Petrosyan played this move and lost. So improvement. Why this move? We have to understand, when he played c3, this is the threat. And next move will come here, thanks to the pawn support. So h6 stops e5. How it stops? When you play e5, he will play g5. g5. This is the idea. Now threat. I think all this happened. All this I saw not the same position exactly. The idea, white was Grandmaster Jan Elvest, Estonian Grandmaster Jan, and black was Grandmaster Abhijit Kunte. So I don't remember the place where it happened, but it was Elvest and Kunte. Similar ideas had happened. So this gives trouble. Now h3 will not work because you will play this. Now g5 pawn, e5 pawn, the threat is coming. So this is the idea of h3, that is h3, h6 stops e5. e5 is stopped. Now he is preparing for e5 because g5 is controlled. But excellent! I told you the idea, the mobility of the rook. Now e5 is pointless because now the bishop is against the rook. You know this. So I have moved the bishop. Now if you play e5, I will play d4. White's e5 can be met with black's d4. No kind of tactics will work. Now black has more space in center. This is just a beginning. I tell you, piece play comes in a well played strategic game. It doesn't come by magic, or it doesn't come by some help of opponent. You put so much pressure strategically, opponent will make a concession. And that is the time, like a tiger, you pounce on him. And this is what Gary White does here. Okay, now white looks alright. Looks only, it is not alright. You watch the role of the rook. You just watch this rook, how dangerous it will become. f5. Taking the pawn is bad. It will lead to worse position. So this f4. Taking the pawn is still bad. Bishop takes pawn. Now g5. And now a very instructive gambit, pawn sacrifice given by Kasparov. He played knight. The point is, after this pawn sacrifice, how many black pieces come into action? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just for a paltry little pawn. The idea of rook s7. It is only white has to now wait for the watch. He has to wait for the death only. Idea is not to win the rook. Idea is to paralyze him. Finish. Resign. Nothing is working now. The threat is rook into g3, queen h4, and bringing other rook. Anything winning, anything is winning. So the whole point is the rook s7 move, and the setup is fine. You can see, in my opinion, this is the best setup against the King's Indian attack. You play this setup, and then this is best setup. Very solid. And the idea of h6 also. c3, h6. No e5. You have to play h4, and that becomes also a target. So a very good example of piece play. Yes, what is the doubt? You can ask me, Rakesh Tripathi, but only restrict to this game. No other question I will entertain, because I am doing a topic. If you have a doubt on this game, you please ask me. I will not be able to attend other question now. Later on I can attend, but not now. Any doubt on this game? Okay, let me go ahead. Next game. The topic is piece play. Actually, here in c3 is simply white is little better. In c3, white has a comfortable game. So this, it was played all right, but there is a story, you know. Kasparov and Karpov match, in many matches. Karpov had a jinx. He used to always lose the 16th match game. Match game number 16, he had a bad luck in every match. So this was the 16th game of the match, and that turned out to be very bad for him. A painful experience. This is the pawn sack. I guess the whole position is thoroughly prepared at home. Never mind, the concept is wonderful. By giving the pawn, white pieces are completely gets into a passive position, and black gets tremendous activity. Attack. Now queen check is not used. b5 is coming, or bd7 is coming. Not taking the pawn. Many players make the mistake, they try to recover, and their advantage will fizzle away. The knight is very well settled now. So he take advantage and castle quickly. Now if you play knight c4, b5 is coming. And c4 is met by b5 with initiative for black. So still nc4 is bad, bishop d3 is coming. Now the knight are stranded. This is stranded now, because these two pieces are controlling these important squares. So white knight on a3, he remains like a spectator, completely cutting off. I would imagine that you must have seen the game I have already showed between white is Robert Bryan and black is Fischer. I will show you that game also. Decide about the bishop. Bishop into f6 is becoming worse. Forced bishop. We can see that this knight is in a mess. Taras formula. This knight has no mobility. Because of the rook is controlling now this squares and this squares, he cannot come. Neither rook e1 nor queen e2. The queen is having a bad square. Queen has no mobility. All this is control, and bishop is watching indirectly. The pawn is watching the square. So you can virtually say white pieces are virtually paralyzed. The bishop is also have no scope. This is no scope. Practically no move. Okay. Now practically all the white pieces have no mobility. Nothing is moving. The rooks have no move. The knights have no move. The queen has no move. You can see none of the white pieces can move. Trying to play bg2 and some mobility. Very well played. Shifting the queen so that the knight b2 doesn't come. Now here knight b2 doesn't come. a5 replaced. Still he is unable to move anything. You cannot blame now. He wants to play rd2 and double. You will rarely see Anatoly Karpov drifting into such a miserably passive position. You will not find a second example in the entire career of Anatoly Karpov. Some kind of freedom. White is desperate. Now the game opens up, the game will be finishing fast. Now he tried to do out of desperation. Now the check is annoying, a diagonal check. Ng4, Ne4, both are threat. F2, F2 under cracking, check on F2. Finish. So it is terrific piece play, terrific piece play. Okay, you can ask Rakesh, but later. I will go to certain point and last 5 minutes I will ask, you can ask me a question. So here you can see that the whole variation is prepared at home, but however he is completely paralyzed. And I think Karpov never repeated this line after this. Yet another, if you say Kasparov's all games are based on piece play only, but most of them are well prepared at home. Now this particular position, Black's last move was pawn h6. This was the position. He has played just this. Now he has made a concession. You can see that the white bishop is controlling d8. So d7, d8. So Black succumbed to the pressure and played f6. Black has played f6. Okay. f6. Oh, there is some mistake I did. Now white to play, played d7. I think I have to go back. I have to go back again. Now d7, giving the piece. In return for the piece, white will have terrific piece play. The pawn on d7 cutting down both the queen side and king side totally. There is no link between the queen and knight and rook with the king side, and king side pieces has no coordination. So the board is divided into two parts with Black falling apart. You cannot decline the piece. This is the last chance. You have to accept the piece. But then check. Notice that queen b3 check is not correct. You have to be very careful in your execution. Queen c4 check is correct. And now threat on f7 check. There is a threat on f7, so he is forced to play bf6 to make a room at king for g7. This makes a room, king at g7. But then knight attacks rook. Rook f7 you cannot play. If you play rook f7, pawn queens. So forced. There is nothing better you can do. Take. Now rook d6. The bishop is obliged to watch the d8 square. Again, another instructive move. White wants to buy time. He wants a rook on 7th rank and queen on h6 to finish the game. So, queen. Now, pawn queen. Force. You are forced to take. And now, rook. The direct met threat. Many of the strategic ideas are achieved by tactical means. Now what white wants, the rook is already on 7th rank. The rook is already on 7th rank. What he wants, the queen should go to this point. Finish. And he will come with a tempo. He will come with a tempo. The idea, you want to attack the knight and then enter. From here, the queen will access this and this too. So first queen has to go here. Queen to c4 check. Forced. Now attack on the knight and attack on queen h6. It's all over. It's all over. This will not going to help. Finish. It's a mate is coming. So the series of moves, and notice had he played that wrong check, now the whole idea queen c4 check was correct. Because after queen b3, his knight will come into action. Queen b3, pawn c4, queen c4, later on the knight will come to c5. That is the reason queen check, and now forced. Now rook is again the excellent move. Again this forced, mate threat, forced. Now again the correct way, queen wants to go to h6 by giving a check and create a double attack, double blow, knight and queen. It's a wonderful game, example of piece play. Are you from Barodara? No. I am from Mumbai, but I work and my workplace is Ahmedabad. I am at Ahmedabad now. I am based at Ahmedabad. So here, next, example of piece play. White to play and win. Kasparov and Palatnik. White, all pieces are ready. Each piece is participating in attack. Queen, 2 rook, 2 bishop, 2 knight, all in attack. 7 pieces in attack. Would you believe that? A rare example when all pieces are in attack. Because rook is coming by a3. You will say rook a1 is not working. It is working. By a3 it will join. So the bishop sack. Bishop sack. Then queen enters. Then the queen will enter. Only move. He cannot defend, only move. I doubt any other move is there. I doubt any other move. So, the only move. You take rook into and queen h7. Rook into, check, knight attack. Suddenly you can see all the area are covered. All this thing covered. All this thing is covered. All this is covered. The queen has no good square. Queen f8 means mate in 1. So, check, and now rook joins the attack via a3. Since the bishop is watching the square, bishop watching this square, so rook will join via a3. Rook a3 and unstoppable. Ganapat ho gaya king. King Ganapat. Lost. So 7 pieces in attack. What an example of piece play. The whole game went on. Of course, the opening error. I will tell you. More stubborn here is c6. This is more stubborn. After pawn takes, queen takes. Now you castle, bishop g7. And white has an advantage with nd2, nd4. White has a positional advantage. But that is more acceptable, no, than this kind of piece play. So here, white gets initiative here. Now, the point is, if you play mechanically bishop g7, a move like e6 can be annoying. Now bg7, it is not good move. Not good move. Why? I will first play a4. The idea of a4 is not, he has to play. Now the point is rook is ready. The rook is ready to come on the 3rd rank. So I will play e6. Now pawn into pawn, the knight will enter. The queen is coming, the knight, queen, everything. Then rook is ready. Rook is ready to come. The queen is ready. and this is already a target. That is the reason he plays a5. a5. Now black has knight a5, knight a6. So the sacrifice will be incorrect now. Huge space. White has huge space. The file, diagonal. There is no time. There is no time for queen d4. Queen d4 loses to queen into queen, knight f7 and nd6 check. Knight f7 will win. So this is terrible position. You will not be able to defend. Rook into, not knight into, queen into queen and rook into f7 should win the game. Idea bishop g5. Now the bishop is entering. Sorry, I made the wrong arrow. Bishop is entering. Plus. All white pieces joining one by one. The whole variation is suspicious. Next. Now, this position came from Polugavsky gambit. Last move was bad. I must tell you, I will tell you the last move. How the game develops, I will tell you. More active move is bishop a6. This is a more active move. Okay, nothing wrong in this. So this is castle. Now this is Polugavsky gambit, which is very sharp. The idea, after pawn takes pawn, the f5 square becomes weak. Knight h4 and knight f5. And white is going to recollect his pawn with the pressure here, and the knight is good. So this is the idea. The knight is coming and the pressure on the pawn is also mounting. So this is the point. Takes. Now e4. The idea of white is, if he tries to exchange, it will backfire. Knight into pawn. There is no time to do queen exchange because there is a check. He cannot exchange the queen. So only he has invited the knight towards the black king. So pawn into pawn is bad. Pawn into. Black pieces are clumsy, but still he is not lost. Black still is in the game. The secret is that he can return the extra material in time to neutralize the white attack. Now, after the move, white played rook e1. Well played. Now the best move of black, this is the most dangerous piece aiming near the king. So this bishop is doing nothing. So he should come here and just take the bishop, knight. Though white having advantage, at least he will not get some mating attack will not come. After the move bishop c8, the game is defendable. White has an advantage, agreed, but it is not that easy. White still having the advantage. You can take now something knight to d6. White has got advantage, I agree, but not all over. But he made a blunder, positional blunder. Now, white pieces will spring into life one by one. Threat. Knight h6 is a threat. So you better move the king. Threat. Knight into f6 is a threat. The pawn is irrelevant. When you are thinking of attack, piece play, the pawn, you should not worry for small material. How many? White has already 4 minor pieces, queen and rook in the attack. Some desperado pawn d4 is coming. Go away. Finish. Anything is losing. You can't blame for queen f6. Wherever a queen goes, this is lost. Anyway, queen h5, knight into h6. Queen attacked. Queen h5. It is leading to finish. You lose queen or get mated? I think mate only. No answer. Of course, the position he could have survived with bishop c8 for a longer period. Longer resistance was possible. So you can see, in a good position, if one becomes little careless, this becomes too much, too costly. A queen d7 move became too costly for Grandmaster Marjanovic. He should have played here bishop c8. White has the advantage, but not winning advantage. White is clearly better after that. But here it is winning. After this move, this simple bs3 is finished. Piece play. The example of piece play. Alright, next. Geller and Lehmann. Not a sound move. The whole idea of NC6 is to go for d6 e5. I think it is more to the point to play queen to e7. With the idea, now bishop into c3, queen to e7, bd2, bc3, bc3, d6 e5. Bad move. e4 will turn out badly. After e4, he will return and f3 punch will come. He will return bc2 followed by castle and f3. So, against the basic principles of the opening, moving the same piece again and again before completing development. Irrational play. So, now white takes the advantage and opens the game. I tell you, when opponent gives a concession by making some anti-positional moves against the strategy, then you take the initiative. That is the time you have to pounce on him. So now, open the position. Whatever you do, it is bad. Any capture is bad. Now it is not the pawn opening the line. Knight into d4 is not working. After nd4, he will simply play knight into knight, bishop check and queen h5. Knight into, queen into. He will play bb5 check, c6, queen into h5 is winning. So only move. Open more and more. Now, white makes a fantastic move. Piece play, an example of piece play. Now pawn into knight, queen h5 is coming. After pawn into f4, queen h5 is the killer. Queen d5, queen h5. So, excellent move. How are you going? Now the threat is, you have to see the threat. Now bishop d, bishop coming here. The queen cannot come to this point, and then bishop will come here. Winning. Bishop e7, queen to c8, bishop f6 is winning. So he plays f6. Now queen into b7. Now c6 loses to queen into b7, and pawn into, this is winning. Winning position. Because on knight f7, you have got pawn into d5. Followed by rook check is killing. So he plays here c4. You can't close the line. Now, as I told you, queen has no good square. If queen d7, knight check. If queen a5, then you can just play bishop into f6 followed by queen b7, killing him. Winning the game. So this is the result, that a player should not violate the opening principle. A player should just castle, develop, don't create weaknesses. You should be ready to fight anybody if you follow the simple basic rules. If you make concession only, they can show their strength of peace play. Another game from Grandmaster Gallery. The A6 move is the bad move. A6 move is bad. Mainly here C5 played, but then pawn takes pawn, BB5 check. So they play A6. A terrible waste of time in opening. So after knight, simple B2. You can see already black has made only 6 pawn moves. A terrible violation of opening principles. So this is a big concession. So white should open the game and peace play should come. This is the only way you can punish such irrational play. So only move. This is the game. After that I can ask Rakesh Tripathi to ask his question. Open the position. Nothing better. Anything else is lost. So he opens the position without fear. Now 2 pawns and initiative. It is enough. One of the ideas C4, C5, B6 is coming. You can't take that pawn. Bishop into is lost. After bishop takes, rook into bishop and queen e2 check. After bishop into is a6, rook into a6. So he takes with the rook. Anyway check, queen. Now he gives shocking move. The peace play. The point is, this gives rise to peace play. He takes not a rook e1, not rook e1. He will be ready to return material and survive. But then this. Now white has lot of active pieces and knight f6 rook check is winning. Now white has got 4 active pieces. Black is underdeveloped and he cannot coordinate. Lost. Check. Knight e7 loses to rook check and pick up the rook. Knight e7 will lose the rook on h8. The only move. Just open. Finishing the game. Well, bishop moves is lost. After the move b e7, c6 check, and now the knight is entering with a decisive effect. Hopeless. White's only problem is back rank, but at the moment that is not there. So this is just hopeless position. So active piece play. So he has given the queen and it is lost. This is hopeless. He cannot take the pawn. Rook check will pick up everything. Lost. So I will leave now. I will continue the piece play, the topic for some more lectures. The part 2, part 3, part 4 like that. And now you can ask me, Rakesh Tripathi, what is your question? Because you have one time for one question. You have time for one question. If a player plays like a master and had not played any rating tournament, then how can he gain his rating by not spending a big amount of money? A good question. If a player plays like a master and have not played any rating tournament, then his first rating he will get is 2600. An example, the Vladimir Kramnik got his first rating 2450. Garry Kasparov got his first rating 2595. 2595. You understand? Actually his rating was 2640 performance, but he had played some team tournament. So his rating became first tournament 2595, but he was playing actually a grandmaster strength. So if a player is playing a master strength, because the first rating is a bonus, you will get the rating of 2550. If you are playing like a real master, I am strength. So it is an advantage being a strong player and am not got rating. the first rating will be very high. So you have to play some tournament. There are tournaments in India will now come from maybe after March, April, over the board tournaments, and there will be strong GM tournament, Delhi and Bhubaneswar, Goa, Bombay, anywhere, Bangalore, go everywhere it will come, Chennai. So you have to play a strong tournament to get a good rating. Yeah, but that is a problem of everybody. Spending a lot of money is difficult, but you have to give the entry fee. And on your lodging boarding, you can arrange at a economical price, share with somebody. For lodging boarding, you can share with somebody. I tell you, you can gain rating in a strong tournament, good rating. So prepare very well and improve your game, and then play a strong tournament, GM Open. Okay, all the best to you. Thank you very much being with me. I will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the part 2 of Peace Play. I hope you enjoyed the games. So I will present to you some more games. Today I could not show, so many games remain. So many games. Oh my God, at least 15 games I could not show. So I will show part 2 tomorrow and it will continue. Thank you very much being with me. Take care and bye. See you tomorrow 3 p.m. And those who do not get the link, they can simply visit the Gujarat State Session website and they will find the link automatically. You can become a member, you can subscribe, it is free. The subscription is free. You can become a member of GSCA and you have free access and notice. So all the best to you. Okay, Mukund Agarwal.